If you have something memorized, I would say, but be ready to say in front of the class. And show some of the water from my oh my gosh, no, not right now, we're good.
Good evening. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to do the pledge. Don't use this clock on the wall, it's slow. So if you please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Union City Community Schools Board meeting. Our meeting agenda is available for you to follow. The expectation for our board meeting is to follow this agenda closely. We operate under the Open Meetings Act and utilize Robert's Rule of Order to govern our discussion and decision-making process. There is an opportunity for public comment during our set agenda. We welcome the public to express their opinions during this time of our agenda. If there are questions about the agenda or the board meeting process, please seek out one of the board members for clarification. I just need to take 2 seconds to thank Darren LeVar for stepping in for me while I was gone. I truly appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. LeVar.
He did a really good job.
I watched it. He was phenomenal.
Don't hear it again though.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Support. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Kyle's not here. Kelly, do you know if we have any correspondence? Okay. Public comment. This is the section of the meeting in which the public may make comments or share their opinions about items on the agenda. We ask you to limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes per person to allow others the opportunity to speak. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to your concerns. It is not board practice to act on the concerns voiced during this meeting to allow for the board to do further research. Do we have any public comments? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move right into our presentations for the evening. First up is Nancy Barton from Willis and Jurasek. She'll be here to present the audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. Oh, yeah, Nancy, since we are live, if you would use the microphone. Sure. Thank you. How's that? Perfect. All right, great. So I'm going to keep my presentation brief. I know it's a lot of material, and if you didn't have a chance to look through it, I'm just going to go over the highlights. First, our opinion letter, which is the first couple of pages in the bound financial statements that you have. That's what you hired us to do, is to opine upon your financial statements. And that opinion that's there, there's an opinion paragraph there, it's called an unmodified opinion, which means that after the completion of our audit work, we determined that the financial statements that you see there, the numbers, are considered materially accurate. So that's a good thing that you have that unmodified opinion. The next section is called the Management Discussion and Analysis. And I like to point out that that's a really great summary tool, so that if you don't have time to read through the whole thing, or if you just want to refresh your memory about some things, that's got some good summaries, some comparisons to the prior year, a little bit more detail than maybe you would find in other sections of the audit. Pages 1 and 2 are what are called your government-wide financial statements, and they're on the full accrual basis. And that means that your fixed assets, like your buildings and your equipment, furniture, etc., are included, and so is long-term debt and your pension and other post-employment benefit liabilities.
Remind me what book we're in again, I'm sorry.
I'm working on that bound thing that you got there. The big one.
Two.
Oh, sorry, the big one.
2 books, I can't think which one it is.
That's the big one. The big one.
The big one, okay, so let me catch up.
Yep.
Turn it off.
So pages 1 and 2,
Not Roman numerals.
not Roman numerals, actual 1 and 2. those are your government-wide statements that I was just describing. Then on pages 3 and 5 are your governmental fund statements, and that's what you're used to using on a regular basis. They're on the modified accrual, so they don't contain those fixed assets or your long-term debt. They're what you use when you're doing budget comparisons and budget prep. It's that basis that you're using. And then there's some detailed fund financial statements back in the 30s that give some of your smaller funds that are combined on pages 3 and 5. I know, lots of pages, lots of pages. I wasn't planning to go over the numbers. Everything there is pretty much what you would expect to see based on what you were using throughout the year. And they're old numbers now, you're in the current year. The other bound copy is the single audit. And that audit is an audit of your federal funds. And the threshold for that is if you have $750,000 or more of federally funded expenditures for a year, then you have to have a single audit. And that goes into a different, more in-depth look at some of your federal numbers. We're looking for compliance to make sure that the federal funds were expended as you were instructed to spend them. Again, there's not really an opinion per se, but no, we didn't have any significant issues either. So, and then the third piece is just a letter. It's boilerplate language. Required post-audit communication to the board. I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions for me? All right. In that case, thank you very much. We appreciate you hiring us to provide this service. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Nancy. Next up, we have Michael Livendale from Performance Services to present building and site information.
Thank you all. Chris is going to pull up a presentation real quick. We'll give you a quick history on the background of who we are, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing and a little bit about what we're seeing.
Will we be getting any hard copy or a copy of this sent to
Yeah.
That would be great.
So just real quick, as a way of introducing ourselves, we met with Chris after he had received a report from an architect, and it seemed like some of the numbers in there were rather high. And so Performance Services, we're a design-build company. We're based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. We currently have, I think we've done over $1 billion in the last 15 years in school construction. 90% of our work is school construction. So the good news is obviously we have a little bit better of an idea of what's going on price-wise. We have our own internal architect teams and engineering teams. And so with all that services combined, as well being a contractor, we think we can give you better information to make decisions. So you hear me say this a lot. I'm just trying to give you information so you guys can make decisions. So on the team for the lead side, you'll see quite a few of us around the building. There's about 4 other people working on this, but Bob Lee's our regional manager. He couldn't be here tonight. Chris is the internal architect. He's also coordinating with Whiteman Architect and civil engineer, and I'll explain why later. I'm the business development manager here, and then we have Kevin Baum, who's our lead engineer, who's been looking at your buildings quite a bit already. I just want to make you aware of this. So unfortunately, normally I can stand up here with confidence and tell you what things will cost today and how much they'll cost next summer when I build them and how much they cost the following. Unfortunately, right now, this is my new method of saying things. It's very confusing times, and I will share that confusion with you. We kind of go from one emergency to another right now with materials not being available. We recently just saw a 20% increase in concrete. So just by this graph, what you guys know in your regular lives, Commodity prices are a little bit crazy right now. It's very difficult to get things. For next summer's construction, you had to order steel in September, and these are all things we generally order in February. So we've been working really hard, and this is just something you have to take into account with the planning. And you'll see I've got some estimated numbers here, and we'll be really cautious to tell you, that's today's numbers, right? Because the escalation still, they haven't reached a part where they're leveling off. We don't expect a lot of these numbers to fall back, but we do expect things to calm down, level off a little bit, and we get back into a normal rhythm. But obviously, with ESSER money flowing right now, there's really high demand on things like unit ventilators and special items that schools use. Casework, I've got customers that we finished, multi-million-dollar additions to that still don't have a casework. We finished construction in July. So that's where we are as a country right now. Go ahead. So real quick for us, full design construction services, we believe in an integrated design and delivery. So what we're saying with that is we'll work with a state architect, obviously a licensed architect in Michigan, but we will guarantee the cost and the scope of the project. So we're very careful to make sure we design things correctly. And that just helps you avoid change orders. And a change order is just when the project's underway, someone runs into something on a wall they didn't know was there, or something was missed in design. We accept the responsibility for that. So we try to take the risk of construction off your shoulders and place it on ours. So because of that, we do a lot more work on the front to make sure we don't make mistakes. We specialize in K-12. We obviously Energy Stars is a big part of us, facility planning, and like I said, we've now gone over $2 billion. Obviously this year's been kind of crazy. So go with this. Been great year. Shake the plan. All the services under one: engineering, architecture, building automation systems, logistics control systems, project management. We even do bond support campaigns. We try to bring a full turnkey solutions to the customer so you have one point of contact and then one company to be responsible. And then we make ourselves legally responsible. Now, you'll hear me say this nonstop, no change orders. It amazes me, when schools do projects, you don't have extra money. For example, your ESSER dollar is locked, your bond dollars are locked. So a change order really means to a school, reduced scope. You don't get what you thought you were going to get. And that's just it's just amazing to me that the industry works that way. And so I'm really proud to be at Performance Services. Like I said, we guarantee no change orders. And you'll find because of that, we try to work quicker, particularly in this marketplace. Like we know, next summer's a critical summer. There's already equipment shortages. For example, right now, unit events, if we don't order those by January, end of January, we won't have them for next summer. So a little bit about the difference. And this is, you guys aren't doing huge projects. Some of the stuff we're looking at, though, is fairly complicated. When you get multi-trades, so just, Michigan is based on this architect construction management model. And we work within that model. But in that case, generally there's all these other markups. So just when you do work with us, we do divide everything out individually. So we make sure that we get the equipment direct, the mason. We don't allow subcontractors to carry subs. So it's really easy as a construction manager when you're not responsible for cost overruns or anything. You just hire a bunch of people and essentially do turnkey. So you'll hire a mechanical contractor who will do electrical, plumbing, insulating, painting, like all these other trades underneath them. And then he's buying the equipment. Even if you don't work with us, do not allow a mechanical contractor to buy the equipment. Buy it direct. Get rid of all those other layers of markup. And then that way you truly have an efficient project. So this is obviously the reasons Chris liked this. Oh, that was just showing 5 layers of markup. Sorry, there's some things in here I didn't realize we're coming. Thanks, Chris. Oh yeah, owner's cost, flat markup. Anyway, we're awesome. That's what that says. Guaranteed maximum price. Again, risk is on us. And that's something we say nonstop. We're going to put the risk of this project on our shoulders. But again, we got to give you a lot of information. Now here's kind of a cool job. This is in Noblesville School, 10 miles from our corporate office. And I actually worked on this project. So Noblesville School did these plan spec jobs prior to us. And this is from their website a couple of years ago. They unfortunately took it down recently. We're asking them to put it back because we told them to use it in every presentation we did. When they did this on their own, they ended up at $7.4 million. And then they didn't have the money for it, so they pulled it. And then a year later, we came in and doing it our way, redesigning it. We actually added things. We added more science rooms to it, more work on the technology and projectors. So we were able to take out so much markup and unknown cost and give them this job at risk that what was previously bid at 7.4 million and not done ended up getting done for 5.4 million, 100% guaranteed. So the day they started that project, they got everything in the list. Yes, sir.
When you said they tried to do it on their own, what does that mean?
Pardon?
You said it on the left side, they tried to do it on their own, on the right side.
Yeah, they tried to do it as an with an architect and CM method. And try to do it just like a normal standard construction project. And they didn't really have, and we say it that way because that way the companies aren't really representing them. They're working for them, but they're not, they have no stake in the game. We're legally obligated to fulfill our contract with you. We make sure that, and that way we view it more as we're a partner with you and we work for you. Go ahead, Chris. So that's just a little bit about us. We also, this is not uncommon, but you can see here, we make sure that, again, at all levels, we try to detail things out as much as possible. If you look up there, it's hard to read, but it'll say HVAC renovation, steam alternate. It will list our improvements in great detail, and then everything you see under there are the individual bids, and then X is a bid that was chosen, a yellow, or a yellow might be a highlighted bid. But we'll work with the school to make sure that you get the equipment you want. And we'll even warn you. You might want to take a little bid, for example, on a unit vent, and we'll have another unit vent, and we'll be like, well, that one's really about a 30-year unit vent. The one you're getting might be 10, or a boiler. We'll try to make sure you have that information. Sometimes people want to go cheaper. Sometimes they're looking for that best value and life cycle cost. We pretty much know anything we install in a school, even if it only has a 15 to 20-year life cycle, will be there for 30 years. Let's be honest. So we try to give you that option again in that design phase. Now this is before you even committed to a contract. You know what I mean? Like we're really making sure we know what we're doing. So that again, I try to give you as much information as possible to make decisions. It's not like you guys get paid a lot to do this. So, the information is key. That's all you need. If you have good information, you can make great decisions. Go ahead, Chris. So for here right now, the top priorities here are to rebuild the home and the away stands. Obviously, the home stands are pretty unique with their 6-foot clearances, and we want to keep that. The away stands are simply, the back end of that is just falling down. I mean, that whole side is kind of, moving, and this year's extreme amount of rain did not help anywhere. So we're seeing a lot of these kinds of problems. Update the HVAC, add air conditioning over at the middle school and the high school. So we're doing an analysis of all your buildings to see where the critical HVAC issues are. And we're looking at that also through the ESSER dollars, and then we do believe there might be some grants coming from the state of Michigan. And slowly get those put together, but we work with the state energy office, and they're trying to put together a grant program. So that could work out very well for you. And then add an office over to the bus barn. That was one of the examples Chris gave us in the previous study you all had. That was $450,000. That price is high. We'll come under that like 50% or more. Not showing up. It's a strange time, so people are getting strange numbers. Go ahead, Chris. So the next steps that we're doing right now is to really, so the stadium, let's be honest, it's a challenge. And you're beginning, I think, different estimates and things through the past. But unless you actually know the slope over there and the dirt and everything underneath it, all you're getting is an estimate. So working with Chris, we've agreed we're going to do a site survey over there, and we're going to do soil samplings, and we're actually going to design that stadium to 60% so we can give you a real price to make a decision on. So our goal here is to come back in January and be able to say, here's the cost of the stadium plus or minus 5% if you do it this summer. If you do it next summer, I don't know. Okay. But, by doing the survey, if we don't know that angle, we don't know really not much. And then we want to try to keep as much as possible. We want to keep the drainage that we paid to put in. Obviously, there's a lot of work that's going to be done. But we'll give you guys details on that. We'll have some renderings. We'll get some pictures so that you can understand exactly what we're talking about. We'll show you how the foundations will be based, the setbacks for handicap, all these sorts of things. And try to give you some options in there, too, I think, to be a little bit flexible. Scope refinement and design on the school buildings. I'll show you this here real quick. So we've got some stuff written up right now on the school buildings. And then, so again, in January, what we'll try to do is get all these prices within probably about 5% for next summer construction, and then, give you that ability to make project selection. So, and one passes. Let me just take one pass it along. So this is our improvement list that we put together on each building. And there's a lot of detail. you know, it sounds simple. The ESSER dollars are really a wonderful gift from the government. And it's driving a ton of work. So, HVAC schoolwork, like at your middle school, replacing the HVAC and upgrading it over there. You know, we're addressing 20 classrooms to install vertical classroom units, and I'll get you a picture of what those look like, but in this case, we're talking about a vertical unit that's a stand-up, not that type of thing along the wall. And then we're also talking about an option I have priced in here, where we could run ductwork through the ceiling, so it would vent out through the entire classroom. Okay, so obviously when you try to do, if you're gonna make these improvements, we wanna give you guys that option, because it will knock down the decibel levels in the room, and that's just a better learning environment. You know, you don't want to be the kid sitting next to, 4 children sitting next to that. So you have this ceiling clearances over the new ductwork, so you'll see we put some options in here. We looked at the media center over there, that would require a new gas-fired DX rooftop. We looked at the gymnasium, another rooftop. We have another 8 relief fans that we do in the classrooms. So that's just to make sure that you have better fresh air mixture. That gets back to, you hear us talk about this a lot. We use a Harvard report for ideal learning environment. So ASHRAE, which is the kind of the hand guide for all mechanical work. ASHRAE has standards for rooms and CO2 mixture and stuff. Harvard came out with a study several years ago that was a little bit more intensive, but what it did was combine noise levels, light levels, CO2 levels, environmental levels, dust, allergens, etc., to try to find an ideal learning environment. And so it does have a little bit different things for fresh air returns, a little bit less for CO2. For example, elementary students actually have a higher heart rate and respiratory rate than middle school and high school, so we put more oxygen mixed in their rooms with the CO2 and fresh air returns. You know how many times you're turning fresh air over during the day. So we'll detail all that out for you. Like I said, you know, you see these numbers, like right there, that budget is between 2.3 and 2.5. It seems like a lot, but when you start to get into detail, you can see there's a lot of work going on. We'll be in the ceilings, we'll be replacing most of the wiring, the electrical system, we'll have to do an electrical upgrade over there. We'll also add in high efficiency condensing units, so new hot water boilers will be installed, circulating pumps and air separator, as well as an expansion tank and piping for the building that's part of the central heating system. We'll install one 100-ton air-cooled chiller on the roof of the building and connect to the existing piping. We would rather not install it on the roof, but just because of the nature of that building and the uses of the outside, we don't want to encroach on play areas or areas that the students will be in, so the roof is a better location, just for the students. We'll insulate, obviously, all the piping, install digital controls on all the new equipment, install new controls for existing contained units. So we'll integrate the whole building. And then also on this, we'll update, because Chris said that this was important to you all, in looking at the system, it needs updating. We'll update the building fire system as well. Again, we'll be in there with electricians, we might as well get it all knocked out at once. Now, you currently do use self-contained vertical classroom units. It seems like your facility director likes these self-contained units, and I don't blame him. They're kind of easy to deal with from his side. You can pull in and replace parts nice and easy. That would have about a $200,000 to $300,000 extra cost. Okay, so we're just talking budgets right now, but pretty soon, what I'll do in January when I come back, I'll have this all itemized out for you. All right. And then also we looked at air ducting. So air ducting would only be about a $200,000 area. HVAC over at the high school, again doing much of the similar work. Vertical classrooms in the high school buildings that would have air conditioning integrated with them. Now we have to do some work on the piping. We're going to abandon some of the existing piping and put in new piping. Install air-cooled chiller to create the cool air. Install relief fans on the roof. So that's obviously relief fans are to bring in more fresh oxygen. Insulate the existing piping and cooling operation. Install building controls, you know, the control systems that run these things. Install digital controls on the chiller and exhaust and heat plant. Install a building fire alarm system too. And that's between 1.7 and 1.9. So none of these numbers are probably as low as you wish them to be, and they're certainly not as low as they would have been last summer. But in today's marketplace, this is currently where they're at, and this is priced for next summer. And these prices are based on work that I just got done doing. And we're bidding left and right for next summer. So, in fact, we're bidding similar to what you're doing at the middle school right now for Jonesville. Just straight across the way here. So we're also going to look at the high school science labs. Just again, you know, for future planning. Like, we don't anticipate you doing everything we're saying, but we also want to give you the ability to plan for the future. So we'll look over there at doing new casework and finishes, and then new vertical classroom units in there. District-wide building automation controls, you know, obviously in this case, we've addressed the middle school and high school. This would address the auditorium, the gymnasium and the elementary. Then the football features, which we talked about. So once we get that survey, the survey, I'm sorry, I confirmed, they'll be here the week of the 29th, the survey company. It'll take us about 3 weeks to get the survey information back in, and we should have an estimate done within 3 weeks after that. So that'll put us, you know, the holidays are mixing in there on us, but we'll be good for January to give you a really firm number on what it would talk with the bleachers. We'll probably give you your options. The more I look at it, the more I think cement, kind of staying with a cement-based bleacher, the way you have it is the way to go. Anything we would do with aluminum would be highly customized, and in today's aluminum market, probably expensive, but we'll go ahead and price it and just make sure that we know what we're doing. Because the bleachers will look a lot different than you anticipate. 4 years ago, we had 88 changes to bleacher seats now, so I think it's every 14 seats or 12 seats we have to have overall. So there'll be a lot more. We may have to go wider to get your seating in there, but we'll figure that all out. And again, we'll give you options. We won't just give you one thing and say, here it is. And you can talk to us if we need to shave it one way or the other. We will. The transportation lounge and the bus parking. So what we're looking to do over there is, we use the term pole barn as I apologize to everybody, we gotta stop saying that. They're prefabricated metal buildings. They are not pole barns, they have I-beams and they're insulated. Well, we say pole barn too much. But we're looking to do that for a lounge over by the bus parking area. And I'll also give you like a plan for maybe expanding your bus garage. Again, that's just for future planning for you all. So general items, obviously, you know, this is an all-in-one type of cost is what we're pricing to you, but our goal right now is to come back in January and just be able to give you pricing on all this, show you some of that open book and explain to you how we got to these numbers, give you better designs. I think since the stands are such a high priority, a big driver on this is to make sure that we understand that cost before you can make decisions on it. Right, so again, speed of delivery, you hear me talk about that all the time. We're not trying to push you to move fast, but we basically have January to make a decision in February to get the bids out. And that would get us to the work for next summer. If we go beyond next summer, I have no idea how to estimate those prices right now, in all honesty. Cost versus quality, we'll make sure that you have options. You know, we won't just say, here's one type of heater or one type of unit. We'll give you the options and we'll explain to you based on our experience which one is better right now. So for example, boilers, they change all the time. 1 year, lock-and bar will be good, another year, Brian will be good. They all change, and because the manufacturers, I swear, when they get market dominance, they cheapen them, and the other ones are like, we're gonna make them better. So we'll always give you those options and just tell you what we're seeing in our current clients, you know, which is lasting, which is taking less fault maintenance. We'll also train your staff on anything that we install, of course, and if they can't handle it, we'll explain to you what do we take to do outside service. Most of the equipment honestly doesn't need to be messed with on a service contract for the first 5 years, but like we would say 5 years down the road, maybe look at this from a local mechanical. And we would give you great detail of what that is, okay? So that's it. I mean, pretty much for us, our job is we want to guarantee Energy Star performance on what we do, guarantee the learning environment, guarantee your energy efficiency. We certainly want to put in efficient equipment, and quite frankly, any new equipment is going to be more efficient when you got it. We'll guarantee the cost with no change orders, and we'll guarantee the project timeline. One thing to find about us again, the surest way for us to guarantee that the cost doesn't escalate is once we do start construction, we get it done very quickly. So we're very good at getting stuff done in the summertime. And we may even, like, if we have the ability, we'll start a little bit earlier with stuff that would disturb the learning environment. Any questions?
Oh, yes, John.
Yeah.
$5,551,000 for all improvements. Does that include everything on this page?
Well, you can see there's a lot of TBDs there, Dave. Yeah, that's just a total of the two numbers that are listed.
What is the total of
The
Top two.
The top two.
the top two?
Air conditioning in the middle school and high school is the quickest way to say it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Appreciate it. No, thank you.
So, my question is, so you're gonna start potentially next summer and, we will be playing in that stadium?
Yeah, it would be completed by fall.
What's fall to you?
Well, the second week of August. No, sorry.
I mean,
Good
fall
question
goes,
to ask. Hey.
fall goes until December 21st, so I
Again,
just,
if you don't work with us, I'll give you a list of things to ask every contractor. Ask questions, because that's how you get And you should have these details. Like I said, the more information you're given, the better decision you can make. And you should be able to go to construction with the confidence that you're going to get exactly what you signed on done. And even if you don't use us, just push somebody else through that. Make them do it.
Use your microphone, Dan. Sorry, that was lousy.
The 3 hours south of us, have you done any work up here before? And also with the number of jobs that are happening, do you perceive a problem trying to find contractors in this area when it's not necessarily near your home base?
Yeah, so we're very big on the 80 corridor. Like right now, we're doing jobs not less than 20 minutes from here. We're doing huge jobs for Fort Wayne. So my office is based, my engineering team and architect team and project management team is based out of Fort Wayne. I have a project manager in Paul Paul. I have an engineer and an architect in Kalamazoo also. And then I live in Detroit. But I'm from Galesburg, Augusta, so I'm more than happy to come over here every chance I get. I see my aunt. But no, it's we know the contractors in the area. Like I said, we're working with Jonesville right now, Buchanan. That's just in this part of the neck of the woods. We're doing a big bond project for Madison currently. So Michigan's kind of more. Michigan got really hit hard last year, so most of my construction projects got pushed off this year, unfortunately. They're popping next summer, but we know most of the contractors in this area. I've been in the business for 20 years. Well, good question. Anything else?
Anyone?
If you have any questions later, you can always just get them to Chris and we'll get you answers.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time today.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Oh, is anybody speaking next?
I don't know. Would you hit the button on that? Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, on to action items. Board action is required to approve the financials for the month ending October 31st, 2021. Can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the financials for the month ending October 31st, 2021, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board action is required to hire Patrick McCurr as Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. Can I have a motion, please?
I would make that motion.
Thank you. Support. Thank you. Any discussion?
I had a concern, so I talked to Chris about it. One of my concerns is being careful not to get too many administrators just because of the cost and the size of our school district. So I was concerned because we had talked about in the past looking at a technology director to replace Chris. And I was concerned that we hired this person and then technology director would be top heavy, if that makes sense. So I talked to Chris and you can explain what he said to me over the phone, probably to everyone if you'd like.
Yeah, well, as we did discuss it, I think it was 2 meetings ago, the change in the job posting when it was posted, and we went through that together. Here, maybe this was the sheet I passed out at that meeting 2 meetings ago, and which talked about anyone else wants to comment?
Thank you.
So, as I said, as we talked about then, we did look at hiring someone to directly replace me as a technology, kind of a software services type person. We actually did interviews. And we ended up not finding someone that we felt was suitable. And then as I thought about what our needs were as a district and what my skills were, what I brought to the table, what we had with Grant, who became full-time last spring, and what he was able to do and how his growth in that position was progressing. I met with Jen, and I mentioned that in our meeting. And she and I discussed the option of posting this position. And then when we posted it, we had questions at the board meeting, and we talked about it then. And the idea being is that you can see the duties that have been divided previously and how they've been done, and then what the change will be coming up. And so the approach is this person is someone who's going to have the skill and the background training to do these responsibilities that are there. I will continue to support in some of the areas related to technology, things that I've done, as Grant is learning and taking on the job. He's actually been handling all the day-to-day tech support with staff and students, all the devices, distribution and everything, now since the first couple weeks of the school year. And, you know, he'll have a question now and then, and I'll help him with it. But for the most part, he's taken that on and done real well with it. So my hope is that over time, he will continue to learn more and be able to pick up some of the other areas that I'm currently doing. So it's kind of like when Pat went from being curriculum director to superintendent, and for many of his years, we didn't really have a curriculum director. He was handling all these responsibilities that would be the person in that position would take care of. He was handling those, and so now that was his skill set. That was what he had background in, and it makes more sense for us to have someone who has a skill set and background in that area, since my skill set is in the technology area. So the things I still need to do that in a larger school district you might not say were superintendent jobs, I can still help out and take care of and handle those things. My hope is that as Grant grows and matures in his abilities, he's going to be finishing his bachelor's degree soon, and he will be able to take on more of these things. So that by the time I retire, you know, you'll just be able to hire a superintendent. You know what I mean? And you'll have all those other areas covered. So that's kind of what the plan is. We had 4 candidates, and it's very rare to say this. If Jen's been involved in any interviewing, and anybody that has, we actually had 4 really good candidates in our interviews, and they all did very well. It's very rare to be impressed by all the candidates. But at the end of it, when we started discussing, everyone was unanimous in agreement that he was the best candidate and the one that would fit the best with our school district. And he brings a lot of energy, definitely a lot of energy. He's he's kind of a powerhouse, at least seems to be. So, and I spoke with this principal today at his current building, and he was very, very disappointed to be losing him. And but he understands, he knows that he's going to be great in his administrative career, and he knows that's what he wants to do. So he was very supportive in him getting this position.
Any other questions or comments?
He says in his resume that the reason he wants to leave his current job is because this would be his dream job. So hopefully it meets those expectations.
He had applied
People
for.
that dream jobs work for free.
He doesn't work for free.
Okay.
But he had applied for a similar job in East Kentwood, his current district, and was down to final 2, I understood, and didn't get that. But he does have a connection to Union City, which is how he became aware of our job opening. His wife is an alumnus, and he'd been following our sports, and he saw the job posted. And he wrote me an email first, like as soon as he saw it. That was like a page and a half long, talking about how much he really wanted this job. So.
Anything else? Okay, with that, all those in favor of hiring Patrick McCurr as Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, please raise
I
your
have one
hand.
question. When would you start?
He will start January 1st.
Not that that was in the work.
All those in favor of hiring Patrick McCurr, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Motion carries. Board action is required to approve the hiring of Claire Grobel, I hope I said that correctly, as a kindergarten teacher pending successful completion of all requirements. Can I have a motion? Thank you. Well, thank you. Chris, can you talk briefly about what those requirements are?
Yeah, she's completing her student teaching spell at Western, and that's on December 16th, I believe. And once she's completed that and graduates, she'll be ready to go.
Has she passed all of her certification tests?
I believe so. I would have to confirm that with Jennifer, but I think that I'm pretty sure that 100% she had.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor of hiring Claire Grobel as kindergarten teacher, pending successful completion, please raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Middle school parapro. Board action is required to approve the hiring of Doreen Holtz as middle school parapro.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Doesn't say it's her dream job.
Anyone else? All those in favor of hiring Doreen, please raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Winter coaching recommendation. Board action is required to approve Bethany Harris for the 8th grade girls basketball coaching position. I have a motion.
I make that motion.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you, Rich. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of hiring Bethany Harris for the 8th grade girls basketball coaching position, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Okay, and Sex Ed Advisory Board bylaw, action is required to approve those as presented. Can I have a motion?
Those didn't change from the last time that we looked at those, correct? Okay, just checking because the document wasn't in my work. I just wanted to double check. So, move to approve.
Oh, thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the Sex Ed Advisory Board bylaws, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, discussion items. We had discussed, I think it was, January of last year, it might have been December of 2020, moving from separate committees to a committee of the whole. And with the hiring of Mr. Katz, and we just have had some months where we have had loads of stuff going on. Chris and I had the conversation that it might be a lighter load if we combined some of those committees. So they look like they're gonna have more meat, but hopefully we'll be meeting less. So what I tried to do was remember things that people had volunteered for. So Dave, you participated in negotiations, correct?
I would approve that.
But you did in the past, didn't you? I thought you were on a negotiation.
I was on the negotiation team for the teachers.
Okay, so I apologize, because I placed you and Paula and I on the personnel and negotiations.
And I would like to be on
Okay, is that okay with you, Paula? And then Archie and Darren, as much as it saddens me to leave you from the building and site committee and 6 a.m. meetings, I was hoping that Amber would take that on. And I won't get the stink eye.
I believe for like a day here and there, I can give up my retirement status and get up early.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Bless you, bless you.
that.
Now, we also had a Centennial Trust and a Bucks Committee. Chris, did you find that we don't need
Wake
those?
me up.
Well. Good boy.
I'll take bribes
Okay.
for
Oh.
not meeting at 6 a.m. So
Oh,
Let's talk later.
that's correct.
Cookies.
It's all fine to me.
I did not have a chance to talk to anyone about that today.
So Darren, were you on Centennial Trust?
Yes.
And do we need a representative on Centennial Trust?
Short answer is no.
I think we have those, I think they're.
Okay.
The Centennial Trust, according to can I use names here?
Please,
Tom Rathburn,
okay,
who's basically in charge of it, is that we should just absolve that money and give it to, I think he was gonna donate it towards the bell tower that we were building.
okay,
Because there's not a lot left in the account. So he was going to do that, and he had not done that the last time I talked to him, which was a long time ago.
okay,
So, yeah, he agrees that Centennial Trust does not need to exist anymore.
okay. How about Bucks? Does anybody in the room know if they are active and if they have a committee that they would need?
I think the committee is Mr. Williams one. I don't know that there's others involved in a specific committee.
Okay,
What is the group?
Bucks,
EUS?
no, Burlington Union City Sherwood. It's the
Bucks, okay.
Bucks, yeah.
Sports.
Oh, well, there's a
Sports.
Bucks committee.
So my thought was if we don't need those, then Kyle could be the alternate on each of the other two committees. So he wouldn't necessarily be placed on a committee, but would be the alternate for both. That way you don't have to be an alternate. I hoped that you would say yes if we needed one, since you had done a building project with your
But
church.
you don't need,
I don't think so, but
you don't need me, fine.
if Kyle does need to participate with Bucks, would you be willing?
The Kyle that sits here,
Yes. If he has to be Bucks and Centennial Trust, will you be the alternate for the?
I would do anything you want me to do, Jen, I like it.
Okay. So Kelly, Paula, Dave, Jen are on personnel negotiations. Kyle's the alternate. Amber, Archie, Darren are building site finance, and Kyle is the alternate. Awesome. Okay, superintendent evaluation. Chris did some checking for us. We do have to do an evaluation annually by June 30. We had talked about potentially not doing an eval this year and moving it to a December timeline. So if we don't do one by, I'm going to say March, do we have to vote at the March meeting?
Yes.
So we would need to do the eval by February. It would be difficult for us to have a conversation on whether we wanted to extend Mr. Katz's contract or not. I had made the suggestion, maybe we just extend it this year and we'll get out to a December eval cycle. It's a complicated. Trying to get the eval done in February makes absolutely no sense in terms of end of school year data, financial data. None of that is available then. So I guess I would propose, let's do an eval because we have to, that's connected to his merit pay in maybe April or May. That would mean that he would probably get just an automatic renewal this April, but we'll do his first formal large-scale eval in December of 2022. Is that right? Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Does anybody have any major objections to that? Chris, do you know, do we have to use a particular tool within the year?
You do not,
Okay,
to the best of my knowledge.
okay. Well, if we find out that we do, we will. But if not, we'll do a eval light in April or May, and then we'll do serious eval December of 2020.
Well, I know Archie and I are well trained.
Okay.
Right, Archie, are we well trained?
Good.
We do it.
You take it in the past.
It's awesome.
We're well trained, whatever you do.
Awesome. Chris, do you want to chime in on any of that?
All sounds great.
Okay, perfect. The only policy update, first reading, as always, incredibly thought-provoking policy.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
I just want to say thank you for putting markups in there so that I can see what was crossed out and what was added. That is very helpful.
Yes.
That is not what we had for the last 6 years.
Awful.
Thank you.
No problem.
So, we will have second reading and a vote in December?
Yes.
Okay.
We, if I could just also mention, we will also likely have a policy coming from Neola in regard to the MIOSHA ruling that comes down once that comes there. I know they are in the process of working on it. And so, depending on the dates and the timing and everything, we may have to do something to get a second reading on that in time.
Okay.
Put it into place, of course, unless someone files a court case and it all gets suspended and all that happens.
Can you anticipate that when that comes, that we may possibly have like a emergency or added board meeting in order to get it taken care of in a quick manner?
It's a possibility. I won't know until I see it, and as we get a little closer to the end of this month. But it is possible. It's something that I talked about with some of the other superintendents when we were discussing, this coming down and the fact that we don't have a policy on it yet, but it is likely to be very soon.
Can we have a meeting? Is there a timeline? Like, do they have to be a certain amount of time apart? Do we know that? Like, could we have our first reading at 6 o'clock and then a board meeting at 6:30 to have our second reading? Okay.
Regardless of what happens, I would like it to be a separate discussion if we could. Is it possible to have what we have here approve that and have that be a separate approval? Because there's a lot of information here that pretty boilerplate that doesn't involve any discussion relating to that one, I think will.
Well, Kelly, will you just put that in the minutes so that we don't forget that we just want it to be a separate action item? Good call.
I hate to hold up 50 or
Right.
600 pages of stuff for
Right.
a paragraph.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Katz, full-time substitute teachers.
Well, I just wanted to give you an update that we still are trying to hire full-time substitute teachers. We have one person that we're hopefully going to be bringing on this week. Jennifer's going to talk with her in the middle school, or Amber and Jamie are looking at what applicants we have. We have, I think, 4 applicants that have submitted applications. There's a number that have started them but haven't completed them. So I'm hoping to get at least 3 people on board because we really need to have people that we know are going to be here to begin to fill in. So we're making some headway on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Some questions there. Will the full-time subs be similar in terms of cost to part-time subs? Just the convenience of knowing we have them, or is there a potential cost savings, or how does that work?
The pay would be $125 a day is what I've advertised. We currently pay our subs $120 a day, but we pay through the third party. So now we will have to pay some benefits if we hire them directly ourselves, but it also gives us a little better control over them working here. Now, there will be costs involved because they're going to be here every day regardless. But I can't tell you, I don't think there's been a day we haven't needed at least 1 or 2 subs. We are pretty much every day in each building having our teachers fill in during their planning hour. When our teachers work during their planning hour, they make $45 for that classroom. So in the high school where we have 7 class periods, if we have 7 teachers fill in for someone, they have to fill in 6 hours. They don't have to fill in during their planning hour, obviously. But they fill in 6 hours, that's $270 a day we're spending for each time we have to have a teacher do that. Not to mention the fact that then our teachers are losing their planning time, which is a problem, and it's especially a problem at the elementary where teachers don't have the ability to do that. So what ends up happening is we end up pulling teachers out of our specials, like music and art, and things we don't want to do, or PE. And so it's disrupting a lot of our programs that we want our kids to have by not having subs. And when you consider the number that we have on a regular day, having 3 locked in is going to be really beneficial. And it's not like if we don't have a need for them on a particular day, we don't have any teachers absent. There are many tasks that they can do in the buildings. The principals have all identified many areas that they could help us with students, helping do academic recovery, help you do any number of things. They give you things that we can't, that aren't essential to be done on a certain day because it might be necessary that, well, the high school's got 4 teachers absent. We're going to pull that person from each building in order to cover that. If the elementary doesn't need them. So they're going to be the types of things that it's not a problem to pull them from them, but there is still work that they can do in those buildings when they're there.
Last question, thank you for that, that was helpful. Have we communicated how long this full-time employment will be, or is it indefinite? Just wonder what the expectations are when we're talking.
Yeah, at this point, we're just committing to hiring them. They will be employed here as long as they are successfully evaluated until the time we decide we either don't need full-time substitutes anymore or something else might change in that regard. So it is only, they would work only on days that we are in school, but I also included that they would work during the professional development days because if they're going to be in our classrooms with our students on a daily basis, it would be helpful for them to know the types of programs and things that we're asking our teachers to do.
I don't think the sub shortage is going to go away.
Yeah, not as long as, not during my career.
I was blown away. The district that is bordering us, there are some stipulations with this, but they're paying $300 a day because they are that desperate to get people, and they can't find them. So, and they do have full-time subs in their buildings already. So, yeah, it's crazy.
I'm still waiting,
Well, I'm sorry about that.
still working on it.
Good.
I can't go here.
Right.
If you
I mean, you
resign,
can resign. You can resign from the board if you
I'll
want.
hire you tomorrow.
Because you know me, I'm a friend.
We're not pushing.
That's nepotism, sort of.
With these full-time subs, obviously with them being here, being in the buildings, we have an understanding of how we do things. Would we look at the substitutes for full-time teaching positions, fill resignations, retirements?
The people we're looking at substituting, hiring as full-time subs, do not have teaching certificates. They need to have a minimum of 60 hours of college credit, successful college credit, and then get a substitute teaching permit, but they don't have, at least the ones that I'm aware of that apply don't have full teaching certificates. If they did, they could certainly apply and find a teaching.
Are they working for those certificates?
Some of them might be. Most of them, I would say, probably aren't. The ones we've seen so far, it's possible we could hire someone who is working toward that. Maybe they're going to school, but if they want to work, or they go, go to school part-time while they're doing it, so it's possible.
Okay, we've reached the section of the meeting in which the public may make comments or share their opinions about Union City Community Schools. We ask you to limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes per person to allow others the opportunity to speak. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to your concerns. It is not board practice to act on the concerns voiced during this meeting to allow for the board to do further research. Do we have anybody that wants to make any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to move into board roundtable. Does anybody have anything for board roundtable?
I just had a question for Mr. Katz, which I asked him today, and he responded well. Unfortunately, he called me back when I was pulling in to dump some grain, so I had to shut him off, which I apologize for. But my question, I think, was helpful for me and maybe helpful for you, so I'll ask you again publicly. He can give us the answer he gave me. But I was just questioning the reason behind school closure on Friday. I know that we had closed before to try to prepare for virtual days and prepare for days like this, and so I was just questioning why we took Friday off as well. So if you elaborate with you, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, both of the closings that we've done have been because of an excessive number of staff brought an inability to get subs. The first time when we closed which I believe was Tuesday before last, was for that reason. We did the same thing again Friday. We met Thursday after we finished our interviews. The principals and I discussed their staffing situation. Both the high school and the middle school were going to be extremely short of staff on Friday. Or was it the elementary? It was the elementary. That's right. It was the elementary and the middle school. And there was some illness involved. There was some quarantine involved. But there were also some pre-planned days that people had taken off as personal days, which is their right in their contract. Some things that I was directly told was there was no way to get out of it. Not that I even asked them, but they were very important things for them. And they have the right to have those days scheduled ahead in advance, and had done so. So we were at a point where we just did not have enough subs. Now, the virtual learning option is not a virtual option like it was last year, where a teacher can just post assignments and we can say the kids log in and do the assignments whenever they want to. It is what is technically under the old people counting rules, distance learning. In other words, the teacher must log in and be available online through the Google Meet all day long throughout each class period. They're not allowed to be absent from the class period at all during the day. The students must log in and be there for attendance in each class period. And if you don't get 75% of your students to do that, you cannot count the day as a day of instruction. And so the elementary is particularly difficult in that the students don't have devices at home. They aren't prepared and set up to obviously log in since they don't have devices at home. And we have 6 active God days, which include snow days, and the ability to apply for 3 waivers that we would have to be granted us. We'd have to demonstrate good reasons why we had each day. And but I understand that you can usually get those, and that's it. So we will have to go to school our full 180 days, minus those days, no matter which ones we cancel. I did not like canceling on Friday. I was asked by a student online, why can't we still do our distance learning in high school? Well, the reason is that even if the high school did distance learning, and even if the middle school did distance learning, if I can't get my elementary online and distance learning, I'm not going to have 75%, and the day won't count. And so then teachers and other employees have worked a day for which they're going to have to potentially make that day up later on. And so what we talked about on Friday was how we can avoid this happening again, and we've come up with some ideas. Number one, we did try the distance learning with the high school last week, and that was kind of we said the week, but I was looking at Monday and Tuesday to see how our attendance was. If we weren't meeting it, we were going to end up having to close probably, just because of the number of students we had ill. And if we can't meet 75%, the days aren't going to count anyway. If people are working and you're going to ask them to repeat that day, and then I'm going to have to spend a lot of time talking to Mr. Iyer, and I don't really like to talk to Mr. Iyer, so I'm trying to avoid that. And but thankfully the attendance went well. Monday and Tuesday we were able to do the week, and we have a good plan in place, we think, for the high school and middle school. I just don't see the elementary as that being feasible. So what we're looking at is if we have a problem, say, in the elementary, in the future, we may go distance learning in the high school and middle school, and then send people from the high school or the middle school to the elementary so they can be in person. But you still have to have teachers online and in your classes. You still have to have those. And I know that, Amber, what's the most classes you did at one time? Was it just 2?
Yeah, we had 3 Google Meets at one time.
3 at one time. because she didn't have the teachers available even in their distance learning day. They were sick or whatever, and so she was teaching 3 classes at once. And we have to share those. So we still need to have teachers available, or at least someone who is certified and can take that class and run it online. So we have a plan in place now. We think we'll cover even the elementary, but again, if we don't get 75%, that means we've had everybody come in and work on the day they're going to have the potential to make up. And so we did 2 days. I'm not willing to do a third, so we're going to take a chance on doing that because we still need to save our snow days just in case at this point. The later we get in the year, the more willing I will be to use those if I need to. If it looks like we're going to have a problem. So it's kind of like this guessing game you have to kind of play each day. You know, it's they don't let me know if they're going to be short on subs and how are you going to cover and who can we call. And then we try to figure out what we're going to do. And we're also hopeful we'll get these full-time subs and that will work. So.
Minor question. 75% is 75% of what?
75% of your enrolled students must be in attendance.
District-wide.
District-wide.
Whole district.
It's not by just a building. We couldn't say, well, the elementary had 75%. It wouldn't matter. If you don't have, out of all of our students, 75%, it doesn't count. Now, the strange thing about this is, if we do end up having to make up a day in June, so we have to add a day to the calendar, and those days you only need 60%.
How does total enrollment relate to FTE?
Total enrollment is the number of students. FTE is the number of students or the parts of students we're able to, that we get paid for. The only time you lose FTE is when you have a student who attends a different program in which they get the FTE. For instance, the Math Science Center students, we get 0.51 FTE for each student. The Math Science Center claims 0.49 from the state. And so every student we send to the Math Science Center is one of our enrolled students, would still count in our attendance, our membership total. We would still need to be here on those days. But we only actually get reimbursed, or we only actually get funding from the state for 0.51 out of the total student funding for each of them. We do have some other students who sometimes, we've got some homeschooled students that came in for 1 or 2 classes and we got FTE for those classes, but not for the rest of them. What other partial FTEs have we ever had? I think that's it.
It's not a floating number, it's based on the company.
It's all based on the count date, which we just finished on October 6th, when we just finished the reporting. I actually just finalized it Friday. We are at 967.04 FTE, 981 students on count day. And 967.04 is our FTE. We've had a couple students that we are in our enrollment, but we didn't get any FTE for them. We usually have one student or so who's under 18, so they're still enrolled because they're not allowed to drop, but they didn't show up on count day or beyond. So we get 0 FTE for them, and we have truancy on them. We have one like that right now, maybe 2. Yep.
Anything else for roundtable? I have one small item, and I don't know if it's a Kelly item or if it's a Chris item, but would you do some research on what it would cost us to go back to 4-year terms for school board members? Because I know we went to 6 because of the special elections. I just have heard repeatedly from both members of this board and other folks interested in running that 6 years. It's just a huge time commitment. So Yeah, and then I guess a follow-up to that would be, so if we went to 4-year terms, Dave and I are running in 22, so I think it's just these 2 seats. So everybody else would remain a 6-year seat, but those 2, just logistically, how would that look? Because are you eventually going to get to a point where you're going to have like 5 or 6 people running it? Anyway, I'm giving that to you. Thank you, Kelly. I was trying to get sorted out up here and it just was not happening. Anybody else? I'd also
We're
like.
still gonna get our new buses?
Yes.
The last time I heard from him, he said it should be before Thanksgiving.
That's soon.
Very
So
soon,
I will,
yes.
I'll touch base with it again, but when I heard from him, just about 3 weeks ago, he said that it was like in the final inspection part of it, and then actually gets sent to Marshall, which is one of the locations, and then it won't get.
Our security cameras go live in this month. Principals are saying about that.
Are we gonna retain the same numerical system for our buses? Or we're gonna start naming after like star teachers, Mathis bus, for example?
No, numbers.
Numbers, okay.
It's confusing when I see other school districts that don't have that. That's why I know.
Well, the problem is if you have a bus from like the 80s, you know, it's obvious you have an old bus.
89A.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that was my one.
That's scary, because that meant it was an old bus. No, not you. I'm saying you're really young, but that bus was really old.
I rode that bus when it started, so it was brand new to me. Very special.
89 was a great year, just saying. Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn. If anyone would like to.
Make that motion.
Excellent. Thank you, Paula. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. And opposed? Have a great evening.